Okay, let's dive into a really fascinating mystery in education, something that you might have even seen for yourself. Why is it that someone can read a page of text perfectly, but have absolutely no idea what it means?
You know the scene, right? A student reads a paragraph out loud and it's flawless. Every word is pronounced perfectly. They don't stumble at all. But then you ask them a simple question about what they just read, and you got a blank stare. Nothing. How is that even possible? Well, that's the puzzle we're going to unpack today.
So, for a long time, the way we thought about reading was through this neat little formula. It's called the simple view of reading, and it basically says that real, true comprehension is a product of two different things. First, your ability to actually decode the words on the page, and second, your ability to understand the language itself. And notice, it's a multiplication problem, which is key. If either one of those skills is at zero, well, your comprehension is zero too.
Now, going back to our student who reads so well out loud, their decoding skills are obviously top-notch. That part of the equation is working just fine. So the problem, the mystery, it has to be on the other side, the language comprehension side. And when you dig into that, you find it almost always comes down to one crucial and honestly often overlooked thing: background knowledge. And look, this isn't just a hunch. This idea was proven in a really famous study that totally flipped our understanding of reading on its head. It's widely known as the baseball experiment.
So way back in 1988, a couple of researchers, Recht and Leslie, wanted to test this pretty radical idea. They asked, what if what you already know about a subject is actually more important than how skilled you are at reading? Well, let me tell you, their findings sent some serious shockwaves through the world of education.
The way they set it up was just brilliant. So simple. They took a bunch of 7th and 8th graders and sorted them into 4 groups. The sorting was based on 2 things: their general reading ability, you were either a high-skill or low-skill reader, and their knowledge about baseball, you either knew a lot or very little. Then, they had every single student read the exact same passage describing a baseball game.
And the results were just wild. I mean, totally stunning. So as you'd probably guess, the kids with low reading skill and low baseball knowledge did the worst. No surprise there. But here's the bombshell. The students with low reading skills but high baseball knowledge actually understood the text way better than the students with high reading skills who didn't know a thing about baseball.
The journalist Natalie Wexler just summed it up perfectly. She said the quote-unquote bad readers, who were baseball nuts, ran circles around the good readers who weren't. Think about that. Knowledge wasn't just a helpful little boost. It was a game changer. It was powerful enough to completely overcome weaker reading skills.
So the big question is, why? I mean, why on earth does knowing about baseball help us struggling readers so much? To get to the bottom of that, we actually have to peek inside our own heads and see how our brains are wired to take in new information.
The answer really comes down to something called schema theory. The best way to think about it is this: your brain isn't just a big, messy box of random facts. No way. It's incredibly organized. It builds these complex, interconnected webs of information. You can picture them like mental filing cabinets, and these are called schemas. Every time you learn about something new, you're building out its schema.
And why are these schemas so important? Well, they do one thing that is absolutely critical for learning. They free up our mental bandwidth. Because here's the thing about our brains. Our processing power, what scientists call our working memory, is surprisingly limited.
In fact, it's really limited. Right now, your working memory can probably only juggle about 5 to 9 new bits of information at a time. That's it. That's all the space you have. If you try to shove more in there, your brain just gets overloaded and learning pretty much grinds to a halt.
Okay, let's connect this right back to our baseball text. Imagine you're a reader who knows nothing about baseball. You see the phrase "Triple Crown winner." To you, that is a cognitive nightmare. It's at least 3 separate chunks of information, triple, crown, winner, that you have to hold in your head, and it instantly maxes out your working memory. But for the baseball expert, their brain has a rich schema for that. To them, Triple Crown winner isn't 3 things. It's one single familiar concept. It's one chunk, and that frees up a ton of mental energy to think about what the text actually means.
So, this little quirk of our brains, it has huge consequences that go way beyond just one kid reading one text. When you zoom out and look at the whole picture, you realize this isn't just about reading ability. It's a massive issue of educational fairness and equity.
There's a name for this phenomenon:
It's called the Matthew effect, and it comes from a line in the Bible. And in the world of reading, it's this powerful idea that the knowledge-rich get richer. Students who start out with more background knowledge find it easier to read, which of course helps them learn even more stuff, which in turn makes reading even easier.
You can see how this creates this incredible upward spiral. A kid with a solid foundation of knowledge finds reading to be fun, it's rewarding. So they start picking up more challenging books. And those books build their vocabulary and deepen their knowledge even more. It's a beautiful, self-reinforcing cycle of success.
But, tragically, the exact opposite is also true. For a child who doesn't have that background knowledge, every single page is a struggle. It's frustrating, so naturally they start to avoid reading. And that prevents them from gaining the very knowledge they desperately need. The end result? That gap between the two groups of kids, it doesn't just stay the same. It gets wider and wider year after year.
So, if the root of the problem is a knowledge gap, then what's the solution? Well, all this research points to a very clear, very necessary change in how we teach kids to read.
For decades, the main approach was to teach these abstract reading skills, things like find the main idea or make an inference. But we've just seen that a strategy like that is pretty useless if you don't actually know anything about the topic you're reading. The new approach completely flips this. It says we need to teach reading through a curriculum that's packed with knowledge, one that intentionally and systematically builds a child's understanding of history, science, art, and the world.
And when you do that, it becomes this amazing tool for equity. It ensures every single kid gets exposed to this crucial foundational knowledge, no matter what their background is. It's systematic, carefully building on what they learned the year before. And man, is it effective. Studies have shown that students in these kinds of programs can score as much as 16 percentile points higher on their tests. It really works.
Which really brings us back to where we started. All this evidence, from the baseball study to what we know about the brain, it kind of forces us to rethink what it even means to be a good reader. It makes you ask the question, is the real secret to reading well less about practicing abstract skills and more about all the amazing, wonderful, detailed stuff we have stored up in our own heads? It's something to think about for sure.